gentlemen, with another very special episode of Lit Art from Planet FM 7.6 Radio Pakistan, Islamabad. I'm your host Munir Fayyaz, and today we have a very special guest with us, Miss Alice Emnuel Lyzcia. She is a scholar, research scholar from England, University of Central London School of Oriental and African Studies, and she is doing her research on great Pakistani poetess Sara Shagufta, a trendsetter poet in Pakistani poetic world. And it was great to know that Miss Lyzcia is
Lyzcia.
Lyzcia is an ardent lover of Sara Shagufta. Sara Shagufta's world, her name needs no introduction in modern Pakistani poetics because she was a trendsetter, not only in her style and diction but in the content as well. She defied everything in the society. She defied, she had a different lifestyle. She was all herself. A poem created by her life was a poem created by her own. And to discuss such a great poetess, and also a small word about her alma mater, School of Oriental and African Studies, we welcome Lyzcia in Radio Pakistan. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you
How
so
are you?
much. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
The first question, you have been, repeatedly, people might have asked you the same question time and again. Why Urdu? Why Sara Shagufta? What made you, arrive here?
So I encountered the work of Sara Shagufta when I was about 19 years old, in English translation at first. At that time I was studying English literature, and instantly I felt strong attraction to her poetry. Instantly I felt that it was producing a strong effect on me. So it was through Sara Shagufta that I became interested in Urdu poetry in general.
You said you read that in translation. We sometimes say that, quoting Robert Frost, that poetry is something that is lost in translation. You said you learned Urdu later on, and you read that translation of Sara Shagufta introduced by your teacher.
Yes.
Now there is a question: did you find a difference in impact in both the versions? What was that difference?
Absolutely.
Gap in meaning or presentation? Did she appear? We sometimes feel that poetry, it loses its vigor when it's translated. But the way you are saying it, it conveys the other way around. Sometimes it becomes, powerful when it is translated in another language, conducive to your content.
I think that it was still powerful, but when my desire to learn Urdu was very much intertwined with the desire to read her in her original expression. And when I eventually started to approach her poetry in Urdu, it was producing a much stronger effect on me, I have to say. So I think that, translation is also, it's the creation of something new, a new poem in a way. I think that it's very difficult to convey the force of the original. It becomes its own kind of poetic object. Yeah.
Poetry. Even reading, when we read poetry, when in modern poetics, we approve that everyone can have a meaning of his own. Individual meanings. There's a license of getting your own meanings. We just talked about hermeneutic licenses. Everyone has a hermeneutic license. And then coming back to the symbolic world of modern poets. The symbols are codes, and codes can be decoded on different levels depending upon your person, your poetic trainings. Sara Shagufta's world is, full of defiance, experiments with language, with content. How do you broadly see that in general? No particular question. Your impact. What in Sara Shagufta caught your attention at ab initio?
I think that the defiance is at the level of, just as we were talking about earlier, the level of being willing to say that this is what I am, this is what my experience is, even when you know that this is unacceptable to many people, and even when you are facing many barriers of which are consistently telling you that you cannot be a certain thing or be a certain way, she's still, even though she is also articulating the problems related to that process of coming into contact with that kind of barriers, nevertheless she still expresses herself. She's still very clear that it doesn't matter the kind of meaning that people may want to impose on me, this is my
see.
expression. I think this, for me, is the defiance that I feel in her.
Individuals revolt against society. Can we say that in poetry, art is best medium for it?
That's a good question. I mean, I suppose that the revolt functions at different levels as well, right? I mean, there is the direct political action, and then there is also at the level of the imagination, which I don't think is less concrete, actually. I mean, I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
You always say you love
because
it,
I'm
and I say
curious.
you're a guest here today. Just that we have audience who would like to know more about your thoughts.
Okay.
I keep on speaking here and there. I am here. I'm the person of home. Did you say art gives you a method of defiance? Na? That's I see. Sara Shagufta devised that method. Language is a variety. We have the same language available to everyone. How a poet chooses his jargon, his idiom, that defines him or her. Sara Shagufta's jargon, I feel, that defines a world that is full of conflicting ideas, a world full of restrictions, and trying to break into a window, a hole in that closed world, to breathe in. So art is a breathing space. Sara created her own breathing space in her poetry. You are working with the context of her psychological world. What are some of the findings? I am continuously asking you the same thing, and you are continuously, tricking me into other things, not telling about her.
It's because I'm very conscious, as I've mentioned, that I don't want to be I don't want to determine some. I cannot make any particular claim. But one thing that I think I would say is that, the psychological pressures produced by society or the people around us, they produce some feeling in us that we ought to be a particular way, and this can feel like a cage. And I think that actually through the imagination, this is what I feel that in Sara's work. I mean, again, I may be wrong, but this is my feeling, that through her through her expression, she is able to, in that self-determination, find some level of freedom from those external forces. Because even in those circumstances of, feelings of entrapment, feelings of being subjected to various kinds of social violence that she's describing, nevertheless, there is still something retained that is purely hers. As you said, a space to breathe in.
A living space of our own. I sometimes say, if we were satisfied with our surroundings, had we been satisfied with our surroundings, we wouldn't have taken up writing. we would just enjoy the life as it is. This is where art becomes a motivational force, a greater force, higher than life force.
Yes.
Having a word about SOAS. SOAS is doing great service. I have come across different ventures of School of Oriental and African Studies, your alma mater, from where you are pursuing your degree here. How is it serving? What Oriental writers have it so far taken, or any idea about the works? Educate our audience about SOS's ventures.
In relation to Urdu literature?
Urdu literature.
So in SOAS there have been many great scholars, Ralph Russell, Christopher Shackle, and Amna Yaqeen was also recently working in SOAS.
Fatima Birni, do you know Fatima Birni as well? When I worked with SOS, Fatima Birni was coordinating it from here, Dr. Fatima Birni.
Okay.
She was coordinating from SOS.
Okay, fantastic. And also Francesca Orsini has been working on the Urdu literature as well.
What writers have you so far in SOS? Do you have any idea what writers have you worked on SOS?
In the Urdu literature. So Amna Yaqeen has been working on Professor Amna Yaqeen has been working on the feminist poetry. So I was fortunate enough to take one course with her, and this was a course on culture and literature in Pakistan. So we were also reading Iqbal as well as some feminist poets, and this was actually the only course in Urdu literature that I was able to take at that time.
Okay. Your love with Urdu started from that course?
It started in my bachelor's, actually. This was before I could read Urdu. It started with the one visiting professor from India, Dr. Urvashi Sabu, who came and gave a lecture on a talk on Urdu feminist poetry in translation. So this is where it started.
And now your just Ranjan, what is your level of expertise? आप उर्दू बोल लेती हैं अच्छी और उर्दू पढ़ लिख भी लेती हैं. Is it required for doing your work to read the original in original language, poets in original language?
I think so. I mean, I can't imagine how anybody could do the work without.
Sometimes, the people from translation studies, they don't cater to the original language.
Achha.
Some people, doing here I know in Arabic, they don't consult the original language. They work on translated material as well. So I thought.
Achha. I suppose that is a different kind of study, though. Yes, I'm not sure.
In her psychological word, Sara Shagufta, because your basic findings are on psychology. Characteristics. What are characteristics of I again quote Pound. He said that not just heap of broken images, but poetry is about creating an inverted image of reality.
Mm-hmm.
It is like looking at the things with bent down and from your, having a different image of the world. This different image consistently shows itself throughout the poetry of Sara Shagufta. Sometimes we see that poet and poetry, they are not streamlined. Personality of the poet says something else and poetry is in another world. In Sara Shagufta, they both combine. How do that reciprocate and, how should I say it? Do they concord with each other?
In terms of her life experiences and then her expression? From what I have felt from reading her letters and poems, it seems that way. She's very specific about this, actually. She says, "Main bezameri likhti hu." That, when somebody has made an accusation against her about the way she lives, she responds in defense of her whole imagination and person, not just at the level of, that there are these concepts in my poetry. This is a mode of being. That's what it felt to me. Of course, I have not had the contact with her, so I cannot say for certain, but it feels that way to me from her letters.
Communicating literature between the worlds, how important is it? When you came to know Sara Shagufta, your idea of Pakistan before reading Sara Shagufta and Urdu literature, and after that, did it change perspective anyhow?
I can't say I had a very clear image of Pakistan before. I think that as we've also been discussing, it's that very rigid kind of image that a person may have when they not have much knowledge about a place. I think this is to assume that is true, this creates a lot of problems. So I think my mind was just forming very slowly through small encounters. And still, my understanding is still deepening now. So I think that there was never a moment of confusion or disjunct or anything like that, if that makes sense.
So you had a metamorphosis of your perception of Pakistan as you read through these poets.
I would say that it has slowly
evolved.
And
that's wonderful. That's great to hear from you. Ladies and gentlemen, we talked about Sara Shagufta, about Pakistani modern poetics. One, in the end, same, because this is my focal point. Creating harmony in the world. How far Pakistani literature is not communicating to the world because it is not translated. Do you have any aspiration to translate Pakistani poets into English? Because you have known now both languages, it is one of the duties you have to do sooner or later.
It would be an honor. I would love to.
Thank you very much for being with us and for so passionately, so vehemently advocating Urdu literature. Dedicating yourself is a commendable task. I thank you again and again on behalf of Pakistani poetry, Pakistani society for giving us such a great chance in form of Sara Shagufta and contemporary poetics. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. We had Alice Emnuel Lyzcia with us today, an excellent scholar, a very passionate reader of Pakistani Poetics. I'm your host Munir Fayyaz from LitArt, Planet FM 87.6, Radio Pakistan Islamabad. Stay tuned until next program. Khuda Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.